Hello. Hi guys, happy Monday. Trust that all is well with all of you. I hope that your October, this final quarter of 2024, is progressing well. I hope that you are not worrying. I hope that you are not being anxious, that you're being more prayerful, that you are taking note of the things that you say, you're being slow and in the use of your words, you're being slow in allowing anger to have room, because the anger of man does not produce the righteousness of God. I hope that you are silent not only in words when you know that they wouldn't be sweet, but even in thought and in your emotions, you are allowing silence to reign even there. So trust that you are well. I hope that you would have done something self-care related, whether it be to read a book, talk to a friend, align with some friends, take a minute to just regroup. I did that recently. Since for my birthday, I wanted to get like I just had 2 days to just sort out my whole self, because different things would have happened throughout the year, and my birthday would have passed, and I did. So I hope that you are doing the necessaries to be able to take that moment, that needed time, to be able to just regroup and press reset or press refresh, so that your app your app could load again afresh. So today I read today about Abigail again, and while reading it, not taking into consideration David or Nabal, who seems to be the stars, co-stars in that episode alongside Abigail, but just to focus in on her alone. And I was reading this story, reading over that episode there in the life of David. That short episode where Abigail came into play and sprung into action to save her entire household, and I thought about the type of woman she had to have been, the type of woman she was in the moment, the type of woman that others knew her to be, for her to be able to operate in the way that she did at that point in time. Now, my cousin and I, when we did our sister talk, we spoke about her and her knowing when to speak and knowing to hold her tongue, and when was the right time to talk to her husband about certain things and his behavior, whatever. We dealt with that. But like, I read it over again today, just thinking about her as an individual, her as a woman. So guys, if you're listening, I'm just taking a minute here for my sisters, for the queens that tune in here on this platform on a regular basis. Kudos, I celebrate you, and I'm very grateful that you are here sharing this devotional with me, and I'm talking to my ladies today. So in this episode, like I said, David was protecting Nabal's shepherds, who at the time when they needed sustenance or something to eat were sharing their sheep, and David wanted to get some. They were having feasts, different feasts, and David just, me and my men, we hungry, give us something to eat, please. After all, your men were out there in the open, and they had need for nothing. We protected them while they were out there, while we were there. Nobody harassed them, nobody interfered with them, they were safe. We protected them. So as a result, we just asking for a favor. God bless you, and we asking for a favor. Brother Nabal, who is this David? Who is the son of Jesse with the arrogant self? Allow not sweet words to come out his mouth. And David said, and was suited up to handle and to deal with him accordingly. But Sister Abigail, I was just impressed with who she was, because this would not have been how she reacted, how she behaved, how she sprung into action. This is your normal behavior. This is who you are as a person. There's no pretend. And so because you've been practicing this, it was nothing for her to come up with a solution for the problem that they were about to face. So I will read bits and pieces, but you can read the whole thing in chapter 25 of 1 Samuel. And it says in verse 2, let me start from verse 2. A certain man in Maon, who had property there and Carmel, was very wealthy. He had 1,000 goats and 3,000 sheep, which he was sharing in Carmel. His name was Nabal, and his wife's name was Abigail. She was an intelligent and beautiful woman, but her husband was surely and mean and in his dealings. He was a Calebite. Abigail was intelligent and a beautiful woman. Verse 4 says, while David was in the wilderness, he heard that Nabal was shearing sheep, so he sent 10,000 men and said to them, 10 young men, and said to them, go up to Nabal at Carmel and greet him in my name. Say to him, long life to you, good health to you and your household, and good health to all that is yours. The man bless the man. What? The man bless the man. Now I hear that it is sheep shearing time. When your shepherds were with us, he did not mistreat we did not mistreat them. And the whole time they were at Carmel, nothing of theirs was missing. Ask your own servants, and they will tell you. Therefore, be favorable towards my men, since we come at a festive time. Please give your servant and your son David whatever you can find for them. When David's men arrived, they gave Nabal this message in David's name. Then they waited. Nabal answered, David's servant. Who is David? Who is this David? Who is the son of Jesse? Many servants are breaking away from their masters these days. Why should I take my bread and water and the meat I have slaughtered for my sharers and give it to men coming from who knows where? He just let his mouth run wild. So he's staying in the vein of being silent or sweet. David's men turned around and went back. When they arrived, they reported every word. David said to his men, each of you, strap on your sword. So they did, and David strapped on his as well. About 400 men went up with David, while 200 stayed with the supplies. One of the servants told Abigail, Nabal's wife, David sent messengers from the wilderness to give our master his greetings, but he hurled insults at them. You see how damaging just using your mouth willy-nilly, free could be? Yet these men were very good to us. They did not mistreat us, and the whole time we were on the field near them, nothing was missing. Night and day, they were a wall around us. The whole time we were herding our sheep near them. Now think it over. This is the servant telling Abigail, because clearly your character speaks not only to you, but to those around you. So people know who you are, even though you might try to pretend. But because he knew who, he didn't go to Nabal, no. He went to Abigail. Now think it over and see what you can do, because disaster is hanging over our master and his whole household. He is such a wicked man that no one can talk to him. Abigail acted quickly. Abigail acted quickly. Remember the verse says she's intelligent and beautiful. She acted quickly. She took 200 loaves of bread, 2 skins of wine, 5 dressed sheep, 5 shares of roasted grain, 100 cakes of raisins, and 200 cakes of pressed figs, and loaded them on donkeys. Then she told her servant, go on ahead, I will follow you. But she did not tell her husband Nabal. As she came riding her donkey into a mountain ravine, there were David and his men descending towards her, and she met them. David had just said, it's been useless, all my watching over this fellow's property in the wilderness, so that nothing of his was missing. He has paid me back with evil for good. May God deal with David, be it ever so severely. if by morning I leave alive one male or of all who belong to him. When Abigail saw David, she quickly got off her donkey and bowed down before David with her face to the ground. She fell at his feet and said, "Pardon your servant, my lord, and let me speak to you. Hear what your servant has to say. Please pay no attention to my lord, to that wicked man Nabal. He is just like his name. His name means fool, and folly goes with him. And as for me, your servant, I did not see the men my lord sent. And now, my lord, as surely as the Lord your God lives, as you live, since the Lord has kept you from bloodshed and from avenging yourself with your own hands, may your enemies and all who are intent on harming my lord be like Nabal. And let this gift which your servant has brought to my lord be given to the men who follows you. Please forgive your servant presumption. The Lord your God will certainly make a lasting dynasty for my lord." My girl know how to talk. She know how to use sweet words. "Because you fight the Lord's battles, and no wrongdoing will be found in you as long as you live. Even though someone is pursuing you to take your life, the life of my Lord will be bound securely in the bundle of the living. For the Lord your God, but the lives of your enemies he will hurl away as from the pocket of a sling. When the Lord has fulfilled for my Lord every good thing he promised concerning him, and has appointed him ruler over Israel, my Lord will not have on his conscience the staggering burden of needless bloodshed, or of having avenged himself. And when the Lord your God has brought my Lord success, remember your servant." You see that? Remember your servant. My girl set up herself in advance and she didn't even know. Or she probably knew. But I want to talk about the wisdom, the intelligence, and the character of this woman. She practiced the sweet. She knew how to use the sweet. She knew how to quell sometimes. Now Abigail could have rushed up on Nabal to tell him about his shippiness and let him know your nonsense that you just take all of us in jeopardy. Look, I just hear so and so. My girl said nothing. Now I know this recorded before. I just want to talk about the fact that the sister here has been on the topic of being silent and being sweet. She knew when to be silent and she knew when to use sweet words. She was silent when it came to Nabal. She had nothing to say. She said nothing to him until she was finished dealing with the situation that was at hand. And then when she got to David, my girl jumped off she donkey, bowed down, and she let the man know, "Hey, you don't want to dirty your hand with this foolish man. You don't want," as a matter of fact, the enemies that you are facing made it. And she starts. My encouragement to us, and I want to stay short. This, where this woman was, that come from practice. That didn't come just so. So it would have had, and she lived with this man for however long, so it would have had occasions and moments where she just know the individual, and she would have been practicing being silent, practicing using sweet when necessary, practicing knowing when to hold her tongue and knowing when to speak. She has been practicing that. So because that was a practice, it didn't have no way you will only do the things that you are accustomed doing. If you are, like Bishop gave an example, using me in community recently, and he said, because you're doing something, I'm doing hairdressing for so long, even though a customer may come and they come to do braids, because I've been braiding for so long, it may not be a braid style that I would have done before. It might be a new style that I'm going to try, but because I have practiced the art of braiding, it's nothing to me. Quick, fast, and in a hurry, I will get it done, even though it's a new style that I may have never tried. But it's braiding, so if it's braiding, we could do it, we could get it done. Homegirl would have been practicing the art of holding her tongue, practicing the art of wisdom, use of intelligence for over a period of time. To be able, and not only was her practice of it known to herself, others knew. So they didn't go and tell Nabal, the men that you sent away, this is what This what going to happen to us. This what going to happen to you and your entire household. He went to the one that would have been practicing wisdom, practicing using intelligence, practicing knowing how to speak. She was intelligent and it was known. If you practice and you keep practicing the silent sweet, here, it will become easier. And no matter how difficult or grave the situation, what you have been practicing is what you will be able to put into effect. So I just want to encourage us. Practice the writing. Practice thinking on things that are just lovely, of a good report, commendable. Practice that. So that when a situation arises and it warrants you staying silent, you're not only going to be silent here, you're going to be silent up here. You're not only going to glorify God here, you're going to glorify God up here as well. So I pray that even when faced, like Abigail, with life-threatening situations that are huge, devastating, the practice of Christian maturity, the practice of the fruit of the Spirit, the practice of letting your gentleness be known to all men, the practice of the silent and sweet, the practice of praying and being silent. That is what will show up, because this is who you are, this is who you've been, this is what you've been doing. So let us practice and keep practicing the silent, slow, sweet mode. So until next time, have a fantastic week. Continue to enjoy the month of October, and I pray that God will help us, that even though this might be an undoing, and in I just really talk to myself in my brain, and I just be having conversation in my head, and I just know what I go and say with this one and what I want, and even if they say this, I have a response for that. Even though that may have been the practice, and that is the undoing that we may have to do right now, I pray that God will give us the grace to end the undoing and the unlearning and the learning of the new. The unlearning of the old practices and the learning of the new practices, and we will have grace to be able to be effective in the new that we want to show up as. So until next time, have a fantastic week.